Who would win, a shape Japer who's really quite strange, or an ugly man? No, sorry, a hideous man. No, sorry, a clown. Mahito from JJK against a floating sphere. It's quite the hypothetical matchup. It makes sense to start with the most evil villain, the shape Japer from the Numberjacks. I mean, look at her, for God's sake. Shape Japer is a part of a terrorist trickster organization known as the Meanies, and her gimmick first and foremost is being a shape-altering demon. It doesn't matter what the item specifically is, she can change the shape and size of it, which in the grand scheme of me being a fun guy is pretty deep, since everything in a concept is a shape. I mean, your body is a shape logically speaking, and that's what the science says. I mean, they theorize she could turn the sun into a cube, and a fairy is just the truth in a manner of speaking. She was doing that to anything with a sphere. Now, what happens if we extend that logic to any shape? DNA is a double helix. The shape Japer can technically change your DNA shape. Now, what would that do? I am no scientist. Either you'd melt or explode. I mean, she can alter the shape of the universe, because as we know, everything is a shape when you think about it. Now, obviously, we can be boring and say instant shape windborn, but that's a bit dull, isn't it? Since she can increase and decrease the size of everything, and can casually halve anything in her path like a fraction. Based on symmetry, I mean, this is literally Sukuna's dismantle on steroids. And to tickle a power scaler's pickle, durability isn't relevant when it's not an attack. I don't really know power scaling that much, to be honest with you. Now, we see what she's able to do, and it's never shown what her actual limits are, because of the context that this is a children's show, and therefore suicide isn't going to be shown. She gave a circle sentience, for God's sake. Much like Mr. Mahito, she can once more do additional body horror. I mean, she gives a man an extra arm and a leg. Can you imagine the gore she can do? Because this was based on making people unsymmetrical. So logically speaking, she can keep increasing it over and over again until whomever she's touching is a ball of flesh. Now, you know the drill by now. The Meanies can't actually die, they always come back, defeated by the brain game. But in fairness, we have seen them being hurt by physical things, so there's no reason to assume it wouldn't happen here. She survived being split up, blown up slightly, and basically erased from existence. The main goal to defeat her is just temporarily. Also, an interesting fact about her overall abilities is unlike the other Meanies, she appears to have stamina, meaning making her do too many actions at once can tire her out. Might not be too relevant, but it's quite interesting. Now, you already know Mahito, so I'm going to speedrun this segment. Mahito is a character that might not be the most powerful, but has a rather specific technique which gives him an instant winning condition. Point being, this technique is idol transfiguration, which allows him to reshape the souls of himself or anyone he touches. That's why it's against the shape Japer. Well, seriously, this allows Mahito to alter the body to create disturbing creations. He can turn real humans into transfigurations to fight for him, and obviously he can insta-kill based on that fact, while also altering his own body to create some new methods of defense and attack, though he does have to be touching the person for this, also managing to have a domain expansion, the self-embodiment of perfection, which allows him to guarantee his idol transfiguration, as any soul that gets inside gets touched. Now, obviously most things have a soul, but it's quite complex with a floating sphere, but we're gonna get to that. Mahito does also have a true form, which basically just enhances most of his stats, which naturally makes him a terrifying opponent to fight, considering even without his insta-kill attack, he can literally do anything he wants. And the best part for him is that wounds and damage don't really matter, he can still fix it. The only real way to harm him is actually damage his soul itself, or just vaporize his existence. But for the most part, you have to directly target his soul, deliver lasting damage he can't fix. Now, this entire video and verdict is decided on, well, me, because power scaling is just cope at the end of the day. Well, seriously, it's decided on how we imagine the effects to work. Idol transfiguration manipulates the soul of anything with sentience. The shape Japer is alive, but she's also a sphere. Transfiguration is stopped by soul reinforcement and cannot be used on inanimate objects. Does the shape Japer really count? Because if it was a number taker, you could say yes, he has a soul. But the shape Japer is a grey line, as you can say yes, she does, but at the same time, not really. And even if his soul was altered, would it literally matter to her? Sure, idol transfiguration can make body horrors, but the shape Japer survived occurrences like this. If his soul is altered, couldn't she simply just alter his soul back? If we assume she has a soul, she can come back from brutal attacks and fix herself. So she technically has a superior transfiguration than Mahito, alongside the fact she literally flies. I don't think the shape Japer is going to play fair. I mean, the shape Japer does what he does, just better, as he repair damage to your soul if no attacks are performed. Souls have shapes in JJK. After all, his technique and foundation is based on the shape of his soul. 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 Oh my god! Okay, but seriously, the shape Japer is factually boundless in regards to shape, so she would probably be able to do what Kenjaku did to him, since she will have full control over his soul, which makes this quite the intriguing spectacle, considering his soul is based on volume. But what would forcing his soul to change shape actually do? Would that make him vulnerable as hell? Would his soul be increased so much it kills him? Mahito inflation. As yes, he is technically immortal in a concept, but if losing control of his soul can cause that vulnerability, he is going to get one-tapped, literally sliced in half, and then he's dead. Because his actual soul would take damage, and his physical body would take damage. Now yes, obviously Mahito has his domain expansion. Well, the interesting thing is, his domain expansion has a shape, which logically means the shape Japer can affect the shape, if she needed to get out of it. Because despite everything I've said, let's say idle transfiguration, I'm about to blow worked. Ignoring the fact she could come back for a moment, the guaranteed hit would put the shape Japer in quite a pickle. But changing the shape of the domain will let her escape because she is a master of geometry. Not to mention, she is also able to change her own shape entirely, stretching herself or shrinking herself into different shapes and sizes. Now the interesting thing is, would she be able to make herself the full size of the domain? And if so, what would that do? Hydro transfiguration would still be active, but she has also trapped him, and she has full control of the shape she controls, so she can control his domain, and I'm not even bullshitting you for a moment. We see the shape Japer can give sentience to anything with a shape. She can by logic take over Mahito's domain and hit him, and that's not even a gender, by the way, that's fact. Or she can invalidate it entirely, which is pretty damn cold in the grand scheme of things. It's quite surprising how powerful she is, and this entire thing is based on the idea she doesn't just turn him into a cube, because technically she can. If the shape Japer can change the shape of anything with a shape, it's logical to say she can change DNA or even people, but also because of how it's explained. Because while mentally weak people will say, well no, this is unfair, I don't care. Everything in our world is a shape. If they theorize she can change the shape of the sun, she can probably make people have a stroke by altering the neurons in their brain. Oxygen in the air technically has a shape, because guys, it is a kid's show. Now is this a consequence of the no limit fallacy? Maybe it is.
To be fair, I don't care.
I'm not using a gender, I am just using what the series tells me. The shape Japer is the master of all and every shape. So I suppose the conclusion of this very serious matchup is in a head-to-head clash, the shape Japer probably solos Mahito. Subscribe.